Alright, we're going to be discussing encrypting backups. I don't know how many backup tapes have been lost over the years, but things we need to think about. What is the impact of a lost backup tape that has been encrypted versus one that has not been encrypted? What is the impact to our business? What is the potential impact to our customers? When is the last time that you tested your backup strategy? So today, we're going to explore why do we want to encrypt our backups, what encryption algorithms are available in RMAN. We will be running a backup and encrypting it, and then we're going to recover from a crashed database. So what happens when a backup tapes get lost? Ameritrade loses PII on 200,000 customers. Bank of America loses a backup tape with information on 1.2 million credit cards, and this is all unencrypted. What is the cost to Bank of America? What was the cost to Ameritrade? Bank of America had to go out, they had to reissue credit cards. That was a costly event. Then the customers had to worry about identity theft. That's costly because that hurts your relationship with your customer. Does your customer trust you with their information? SAIC lost an unencrypted backup tape with the medical information of 4.9 million members of the military. SAIC and the VA get up there and say, don't worry, we don't think this thief is smart enough to use this backup set. It's a non-issue. I'm sorry, I'm not comforted. If this was a targeted attack, that thief could go to eBay, purchase the equipment they want. That thief could go to the software vendor, download the software they need, and restore that information to their own environment. So, does your CEO want to explain to the press why an unencrypted backup was lost? I don't want to be the person explaining to the CEO that an unencrypted backup was lost, and it was fairly easy to resolve that issue in the first place. Just recently, the CEO of Target and the CIO of Target resigned over a data breach issue. That had more to do with malware, but it is serious enough that it is now impacting the C-level executives, and they're losing their jobs. Plugging this hole is very easy. We're going to find out how to set the encryption algorithm and turn encryption on. We will set the encryption, and we can use either a password or a wallet. We're going to run a backup script. It'll be an encrypted backup. And so, what encryption algorithms are available to us? AES 128, 192, and 256. Those are the three encryption algorithms in my environment. AES 256 being the strongest of the three. So how we turn on encryption and set the algorithms? It's surprisingly simple. Set encryption on, identified by a password, and in our case we're going to use the only keyword. And what the only keyword says is we can only decrypt this with a password. If we leave the only out, we can use a password or the wallet. Now, to set the encryption algorithm, set encryption algorithm AES 256 in quotes. Simple as that. But now those are session only commands. So once you get out of RMAN, you've lost it. If you want these settings to be persistent, you're going to go configure encryption for database on. Every time RMAN runs a backup, it will be encrypted. Configure encryption algorithm, AES 256. Every time RMAN runs a backup, it will be encrypted with AES 256. So we're going to run a little demo here. Alright, these are my demo scripts. So the first thing we're doing is we're going to look at what encryption algorithms are available. In this case, $RMAN encryption algorithms is the table that has those. Then this is where we're going to set the password, set encryption on, identified by password. In this case we're using only. Then we're going to run a backup. And then after that, we are not going to run that script. That is depreciated. But we are going to run this. When we crash the database, we are going to delete a data file. We have to do a shutdown abort, and we have to do a startup mount in order to do the recovery. So we're going to set the decryption, and then we're going to do the restore and a recover. I'm going to get into why we have to do the restore and recover here in a few minutes. So let's check the environment we're in. We're in my dev environment. Alright, and start up RMAN. RMAN target slash. There are a number of ways of starting up RMAN. This is how we're going to use it in this demonstration. First thing we'll do, let's check to see what encryption algorithms are available to us. And there they are, AES 128, 192, and AES 256. Three algorithms, okay. Now we are going to set the password, and I want you to notice, set encryption on, identified it, and then it put an asterisk there. This file gets spooled out to a log file, so you do not want your password stored in a log file. So we protect it that way. So now my backup is running. I can see I'm getting my container data files. This is my pluggable database data files. A couple other things I want to tell you. I've got this instance set up to automatically back up my SP files and also my control files. So it's running right along, and it's backing those up right now. And it's done. So now what happens? Junior guy comes along and says, I am running out of disk space. I'm going to delete that file, and it's going to give me a lot of disk space. So RM that file, and we just blew up a database. Going to SQL Plus, we're going to try shutdown immediate. Shutdown immediate will return an error code every time because of this issue. And boom, there's our error code. So we have to do a shutdown abort. The shutdown abort, it pulls the plug on all the processes. It is shut down, but now we're going to do a startup mount. Startup mount is going to read the control file, and that way it knows how to, or actually it knows what data files need to be restored and what data files need to be recovered. So here we go. There's our database restore and recover. And go into RMAN with RMAN target slash and run it. I'll show you a couple of things here real quick. Alright, first thing. You see already restored, already restored. We only deleted one file, but we are restoring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 files. Why? Because of that unplugging. When we unplugged it, it put those files all in a inconsistent state. So we have to do a recovery. It applies the archive logs and it applies the redo logs. It brings everything to a consistent state. So now we can open up the database, and once the database is open, everyone can get back to work. So, what did we do here? We went into RMAN, we turned encryption on, and we used a password, and in this case, we're using the only option. We did a full backup, a very uncomplex backup command. Backup as compressed backup set, database plus archive log, and where we're going to put it. We check for errors. As the backup is running, we look and find if there are any errors. If there are errors, we have to resolve those errors prior to trying to restore with that, because it's probably not going to work. A bad thing happened. Junior guy comes in and goes, I need disk space, I'm going to delete this big old file. It's happened in the past, and I guarantee you it's going to happen again in the future. We restored the database, startup mount, set decryption identified by. This is all there is to it, to decrypt. Then we did a restored database. It brought in the data files that was missing, and every DBA should do this at least once a year. I'm going to recommend at least once a month and once a quarter. It is that important. I actually do it a couple times a week, various different ways I can actually crash the database. We did a recover database. The recover database applied the archive logs and redo logs, putting all the database objects into a consistent state. We opened the database and we enjoyed, and are there any questions?